Alhai. Tajikistan, the state in Central Asia located in the foothills of Pamir and which doesn't have an outlet to the sea. The smallest in area state of Central Asia. Borders on Uzbekistan in the west and the northwest, on Kyrgyzstan in the north, on China in the east, on Afghanistan in the south. The capital, the city of Dushanbe. State language Tajik, at the same time Tajikistan, the only Persian state in the former Soviet Central Asia. Most of the population of Tajikistan practices Islam of Sunni sense. Tajikistan is rich with natural resources, but as 93% of the territory of the republic occupy mountains, their production is complicated by underdeveloped infrastructure. Tajikistan is located far from the main Eurasian traffic flows. The name Tajikistan comes from the self-name of Tajiks and a suffix east/a camp. The name appeared in 1924 as a result of national and territorial delimitation of Central Asia and creation Tajik the Asar as a part of the Uzbek Sur. In 1929-1991 the Tajik Sur. Ancestors of Tajiks called the country Arianum Via. This name comes from Drevnoransky, Arianum, and Avistas. Arianum. On Srednoprasitsky, Iran, on Tajik, Heron. Is also meant by a country of Ariev. It is supposed that during an era Achaemenidov, 550-327 years BB, the concept Arianum Via was transformed to Arianum Saram, state of Ariev. Aryan tribes. Area, the singular, Aryan, area. From the Avestisky word Arya and the Iranian Arya, noble, clean. The name of ancient Indo-Iranian tribes which at the beginning of the second millennium separated BB from Indo-European tribes and moved to Central Asia. Arianaveta. Avistas. An Aryan scope, the country. At the end of the second millennium BB, the part of the Indo-Iranian tribes moved to lands of modern Iran and northern India. Aryans. Arya. Are mentioned in historical sources as ancestors of the people of the states of Ariana, Turan, ancient Bactria, Sog, Khwarezm, Persia, the Musul and Khorasan. Since Achaemenidov the name Iran, on Tajik, Heron, was assigned to the states of the West Iranian people which created the powerful centralized empires. Aransar. Aranshar. Comes from Avestisty Arianum Excessa. Ram. The Avestisty diphthong of AI was transformed to Srednoprasitsky public. The East Iranian people, direct ancestors of Tajiks, called the earth of Turan. On Tajik, Turan. The country of the East Iranian people, Turan, was politically shattered into 4 certain states. Sog, Bactria, Khwarezm, Margiana. Also nomad tribes of Jews were ancestors of Tajiks. At first the Sirdaria, and in later times, Amudarya was conditional border between Iran and Turan in ancient times. The first state educations existing in the territory of modern Tajikistan, Bactria and Sogdiana which appeared prior to the beginning of our era. The name are received from the name Samanhudata from the settlement Adobe near Bak. received for the help rendered at suppression of the anti-Arab revolt Rafi ibn Laysa. 806-810. Sons and grandsons Samana in 872 in management all most important areas of Transoxiana. In 892 Ismail Samani becomes the founder, Emir, of the Samanidsky state, having united some parts of Transoxiana and Khorasan, Central Asia and Afghanistan, in the uniform centralized state. Subsequently also Khorasan under control of the Abbasidsky Caliphate submitted to Samanidsky emirs. Soon Samanidam was succeeded to establish full independence of Baghdad. 875-999. The state of Samanidam ceased to exist in 999/1005 years as a result of invasion of Turkic-speaking tribes of the Karakhanidski and Ghaznavidsky states. Ghuridski Sultanate, the medieval Tajik state existing in the territory of modern Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan, Tajikistan and India from 1148 to 1206. A ruling dynasty Ghurida, coming from Suri's family, on behalf of Suri ibn Muqammada, the first leader of the tribe of Ghur in the area Mandesh. The Ghur area was the center of the state. The cities of Firuzkuk and Ghazni were the capitals. The founder of power of a dynasty is Izz-ud-Din Hussein ibn Sam, the world Diyar Ghaznavidav. After gain by Ghur Mahmud Ghaznavid in 1011, the dynasty Ghuridav passed from the Buddhism into Sunni Islam. Abu Ali ibn Muhammad I reigned in 1011-1035. Was the first Muslim governor of a dynasty Ghuridav who built mosques and Islamic schools in Ghur. The dynasty overthrew the state of Ghaznavidav in 1186 when Sultan Mu'izz ad-Din Muhammad from Ghur won the last capital of Ghaznavidav of Lahore. The empire of Ghuridav covered Khorasan in the west and reached northern India to Bengal in the east. Qartida, the medieval dynasty of the Tajik origin governing in the territory of Khorasan in the 13th-14th centuries. Qartida were initially subject to the Sultan of a dynasty Ghuridav of Ghiyas-ud-Din Muhammad, and then became vassals of the Mongolian Empire. At the disintegration of the state of Hulaguidav in 1335, the governor Qartidav Izz-ud-Din Hussein ibn Ghiyas tried to expand the possession. Hussein's death in 1370, an invasion of troops of Tamerlan in 1381 gave up his bad job ambitions Qartidav. In October 1924, as a result of national and territorial delimitation of Central Asia in the territory of modern Tajikistan, the Tajik Autonomous Socialist Soviet Republic, Tajik Diasur, is a part of the Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic. The Uzbek Sur was formed. The city of Dushanbe formed as a result of merge of three settlements: Saryusio, Shumansur and Dushanbe. Became the capital of the Asur of the Tajik people. A number of representatives of the Tajik intellectuals and party figures Tajik Diasur for several years petitioned for transformation of the Tajik autonomy to the full-fledged allied Soviet Socialist Republic independent from the Uzbek Sur, and on October 16, 1929 from Tajik Diasur formed the independent Tajik Soviet Socialist Republic. The Tajik Sur, which on December 5 the same year was a part of the Asur as the Federal Republic, having become the seventh Federal Republic at the time. After Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Transcaucasian, Uzbek and Turkmen. Şirinşah Çökmer and Sadreddin Ani were one of the main initiators of transformation of the autonomous republic in Allied. In the 1930th years and during the Great Patriotic War in the country, planned industrialization, which was followed by reorganization of national economy and inflow of the qualified labor from Rusfers and other republics of the USSR, was carried out. From 1937 to 1946 M.K. Kurbanov was the chairman of the Board of Ministers of the Tajikistan. During the Great Patriotic War, to the Central Asian republics, in particular to the Tajikistan, the inhabitants of regions of the country treated to military operations and the subsequent hunger, including residents of besieged Leningrad, the Western Russia, devastated by war. Residents of Belarus and Ukraine were evacuated. To Tajikistan, not less than 100,000 people, from whom over 10,000 were the deserted children, were evacuated. Refugees were provided with local population housing, clothes, food. Many Tajik families accepted on education of the deserted children. Other children, widows, elderly and wounded were sent to sanatoria, nurseries of the camp and holiday house. After the end of war, the majority from evacuated remained in the republic, having found a job and having received housing. The Tajiks are sent to the front not to exchange 90 tons of wool, 650 tons of grain, 36,000 tons of meat, 19,000 horses. At the expense of the Republic, over 3,000 trucks, several honeycombs of tanks and 100,000 tractors. Tractors were produced for needs of army at the front. Over 30 enterprises were evacuated from the western part of the USSR captured by war to Tajikistan. Besides, over 20 plants, factories and shops in the Republic were opened for needs of army from scratch. In 1941-1945, from the Tajiks on war, over 289,000 people were called. Also, about 45,000 people worked in the back. Everything, from 290,000 of Tajikistanites called on war, died, or over 100,000 people were missing. From 1946 to 1956, the politician and the scientist historian B. Ghafarov was the first secretary of the Central Committee of Work of the Tajikistan. In the mid-50s, the leaders of the Tajikistan natives of Leninabad got the best that had the consequences. All subsequent heads of the Central Committee of Work of Tsolzabayev, Rasulov, Nabiev, Makhimov were a sort or worked in the Leninabad region earlier. For 1970th and 1980th, personnel stagnation was also characteristic. Rasulov was on the post 21 years. The cotton industry was the main specialization of the Tajiks. Meanwhile, in 1960, the 1970th years were created new branches of economy, the machine building, textile, electrotechnical and chemical industries, and also hydropower. On August 24, 1990, under influence democratically and a nationalistically oriented part of deputies, new convocation of the Supreme Council of the Tajik already adopted the Declaration on the State Sovereignty of the Tajik Soviet Socialist Republic at the second session. In particular, it was specified in the declaration that it is a basis for development of the new Republican Constitution and the conclusion of the new Allied Contract. During the August Putsch, the president of the Tajik of Kakha Makhimov supported Gichichichichkan forces loyal to him, then caused sharp discontent of a democratic and nationalist part of the Republican Supreme Council and also Islamists and other supporters of independence. The opposition organized numerous meetings with requirements of resignation of the president and dissolution of the Communist Party. Under pressure of protesters and opposition, on August 31, 1991 at the extraordinary session of the Republican Supreme Council, deputies expressed no confidence in the president, and Takhar Mahkamov was forced to give to resignation from the presidency of the Republic, and the chairman of the Supreme Council Kadruddin Aslonov temporarily began to fulfill his duties. On September 7, on a plenum of the Central Committee of Work of the Tajik Serv, Takhar Mahkamov asked to exempt him also from duties of the first secretary of the Central Committee, and his resignation was accepted. 2 days, on September 9, 1991, the Supreme Council later announced Republic getting out of structure of the USSR. Thus, Tajikistan became the 11th republic which left the Soviet Union as a result of Parade of Sovereignties. On September 9, 1991, acceptance at the session of the Supreme Council of Art of the statement and the resolution about the state independence of the Republic of Tajikistan. On September 9, it is announced in the Republic as the holiday Independence Day of the Republic of Tajikistan. On December 25, 1991, the entry of the Republic of Tajikistan into the Commonwealth of Independent States. CIS. On February 26, 1992, the entry of the Republic of Tajikistan into Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. OSCE. On March 2, 1992, the entry of the Republic of Tajikistan in structure of member states of the United Nations. Union. On December 1, 1993, the entry of the Republic of Tajikistan in structure of member states of the Organization of the Islamic Conference. OIC. On May 5, 1992, on June 27, 1997, years of civil war. Damage caused to Republic economy in the years of war was more than $10 billion. In May 1992, after the coup attempt in Dushanbe, which was undertaken by supporters of national and democratic opposition, representatives of opposition were entered into the government of national reconciliation. Opposition between the former communistic elite and national and democratic and Islamic forces passed from the political sphere into ethno-clan. In June 1992, in the southern regions of Tajikistan, armed conflicts between supporters and Rahman's opponents of Nabiev broke up. So in the country civil war began. On August 31, supporters of opposition took the residence of the president and hostages. Nabiev disappeared in the building of Committee of National Security. On September 7, 1992, at the airport of Dushanbe, Nabiev, under pressure of the armed opposition, was displaced from a post of the President of the Republic of Tajikistan. During this period, supporters of the government created the People's Front of Tajikistan, the military political organization, which proclaimed the purpose restoration of constitutional order. On September 27, 1992, the People's Front occupied Kurgantepe, captured earlier by Islamists, and then the region adjoining to him. The People's Front got some limited political support from Uzbekistan. Russia secretly rendered assistance to the People's Front of Tajikistan. There came paralysis of the power in the center and on places. The government of national consent, created in May 1992, didn't control the republic. On October 24, 1992, the first attempt to occupy Dushan by paramilitary groups of the People's Front ended with failure. In the city died and hundreds of people were wounded. Having failed, they blew up the only railroad connecting the trunk main to the central regions of the country in Dushanbe. In areas of East region the hunger threat hung. In the fall of 1992 many inhabitants of the south of Tajikistan, escaping from war, began to cross the Afghan border, to go to quieter regions of Tajikistan and also to other republics of the CIS. By estimates of the Union, about 1 million inhabitants there were displaced persons and more than 200,000 refugees, including more than 60,000 crossed the border of Afghanistan. On November 16, on December 2, 1992, the 16th Session Shura of Olya Supreme Council of the Republic of Tajikistan in Hodzenta, on whom Nabiev went to resignation from the presidency, the Chairman Shura of Olya of the Republic of Tajikistan, took place on November 19, 1992. Actually the head of the Republic, Emomali Rahman, was elected. In December 1992, after decisions of the 16th session of the Supreme Council of Art on the termination of the armed opposition, groups of the People's Front without fight occupied the capital. However, the national and democratic opposition and Islamic forces unexpectedly got strong political support in the person of the countries of the West, the Muslim countries, the Union, and again there began military operations against the government of the Republic of Tajikistan. On November 6, 1994, adoption of the Constitution of Tajikistan by results of a national referendum. On September 26, 1999 and on June 22, 2003, modification and additions in the existing constitution. The new parliament declared on November 6 a public holiday, the Constitution Day of the Republic of Tajikistan. On November 6, 1994, election as the President of Tajikistan Emomali Rahmanov. 1999 and 2006, repeated re-election. On June 27, 1997, signing the General Peace Agreement and National Consent in Tajikistan, in Moscow, the President Rahmanov and the head of the joint Tajik opposition, Shto, said Abdullah Nuri. The final agreement was signed after 8 rounds of negotiations between the government of Point and Shto. 1994-1997. On June 27 it is declared in the Republic by a public holiday, Day of National Unity. On June 4, 1997, on April 1, 2000, work of the Commission on National Reconciliation, COM, is a part of 26 DICs. 13 DICs from the government of Art and 13 DICs from the former opposition. LUMP enabled the realization in life of documents of the General Peace Agreement and National Consent in Tajikistan of June 27, 1997. On November 3, 10, 1998, a revolt against the government of the former colonel of Special Crew Asauri Art Hudoberdyeva in Hodzenta and the Sud region, which ended with defeat of rebels. On February 27, 2000, elections of deputies to Majlisi Namoandagan. 1 deputy. On March 23, 2000, in Majlisi Milli. 33 deputies. Malisi Oli, creation of professional parliament in the Republic. On November 30, 2000, introduction of national currency, Samoni, in Tajikistan. On October 10, 2000, signing of the constitutive treaty by Tajikistan of the Eurasian Economic Community. Eurosec. On June 15, 2001, the entry of Tajikistan into the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. SCO. On May 14, 2002, the entry of Tajikistan into the Collective Security Treaty Organization. STO. 2005-2009, construction and commissioning of hydroelectric power station of Sancted-1. Power -670 MUM. Together with Russia. 2006-2009, construction and commissioning of the high voltage power line the south the north. That -500. And Hatland Challenger. That -220. On October 5, 2009, adoption of the new law of art about a state language of the Republic of Tajikistan. On October 5, it is announced in the Republic in the afternoon of a state language. 2006-2010, construction and commissioning of the highways Dushanbe-Kujand-Chanak. Uzbekistan. Dushanbe-Churchital-Saratash. Kyrgyzstan. Automobile tunnels of Istiklal on the Anzovsky Pass, Sharshur and Shikristan. On January 6, 2010, the beginning of distribution of stocks of Ragunsky hydroelectric power station among the population of the Republic. Continuation of construction of Ragunsky hydroelectric power station with a general power of 3600 MUM. September 2011, construction and commissioning of the first Gs-2 Sanctedinskoye unit. Power -220 MUM together with Iran. Completion of construction of the bridge through the river Payans to Afghanistan together with Fund of Development Aga Khan 4 and reconstruction of the highways Dushanbe-Kujand-Chanak. Uzbekistan. Dushanbe-Churchital-Saratash. Kyrgyzstan. According to investment projects of Tajikistan and China. On August 14, 2012, Tajikistan joined the Convention on Recognition and Carrying Out of Foreign Arbitral Awards. The New York Convention of 1958. On December 10, 2012, Tajikistan entered the World Trade Organization. WTO. September 2014 is started the second 110 MUM unit of Sanctedinsky Gs-2. After full commissioning, Sanctedinsky Gs-2 is capable to develop to 1 billion kWh of the electric power or 220 MUM. December 2014 in Dangarinsky district, construction of the largest in Central Asia of the textile enterprise, which first stage can process over 52,000 tons of cotton fiber began. The enterprise is under construction according to the joint investment project of Tajikistan and China. On September 29, 2015, the Supreme Court of Tajikistan banned activity of the Party of Islamic Revival of Tajikistan (PIVT) in the territory of the Republic. Before the ban, PIVT was the only legally operating political party of Islamic sense in the former Soviet Union. On October 18, 2015, the Aini-Panjikent Highway is reconstructed. Asian Development Bank provided a grant for $100 million on rehabilitation of this road. 113 km long. On December 15, 2015, Asian Development Bank suspended financing of the Trans-Afan Railroad, in which Turkmenistan, Afghanistan and Tajikistan, in connection with the low level of safety, participated in Afghanistan and an insufficiency of financial resources for realization of the Afghan site. On May 22, 2016, the constitutional referendum in Tajikistan took place. On May 26, 2018, the population of Tajikistan reached 9 million people. On November 16, 2018, the first Rogunskoy hydrounit was solemnly started. The second hydrounit was put into operation in June 2019. On November 6, 2019, an assault on the outpost Ishkabad, located in 60 km from Dushanbe on the Tajik-Uzbek border is committed. 6 servicemen, including 5 frontier guards and 1 militiaman died. The Islamic State terrorist organization. It is banned in the Russian Federation. Also Tajikistan took the responsibility for attack. Tajikistan participates in several large investment projects together with Russia, China and Iran. The political system of Tajikistan is defined by the constitution adopted on November 6, 1994. Tajikistan, the Presidential Republic. Since 1994, the post of the president is held by Emomali Rahman, re-elected on this post in 1999, 2006 and 2013. Before election as the president in 1994, Emomali Rahman was a member of the Communist Party and respectively paid membership fees. Due to the election as its president, by agreement with a party management, his membership in party was temporarily suspended. The legislature is carried out by two-chamber parliament, the highest meeting of Tajikistan. Parliamentary elections in February 2000 were won by ENIP, which collected 65% of votes. KIP received 20%, PIP -7.5%, the others -7.5%. According to official data on results of elections to the lower house of parliament on February 27, 2005, ENIP received 75% of votes, KIP -14%, PIP -9%, DPIP -1%, STS -0.5%, CT -0.3%. From 22 deputy places taken in Majlisi, a meeting of representatives. On a proportional system, 17 got 2 National Democrats, 3 2 Communists, 2 Islamists. In 35 single-candidate districts, representatives of ruling party, 1 the Communist, and 2 independent candidates. Independent candidates. Repeated elections in 3 districts brought on March 13 a victory to candidates of ruling party. Observers from OSCE and some other the organizations recognized elections of 2005 not conforming to the international standards, having noted that they were more under control of Election Commission and the authorities than the participating parties. Opposition parties protested against jugglings and violations of the law during pre-election fight. The political regime at external democratic character remains in fact authoritative. According to many observers and the international human rights organizations, the rights of citizens are systematically violated. There is no independence of court, tight restrictions of freedom of expression work. Intervention of the state in electoral process was observed in all campaigns for the choice of the president and parliament. Though the civil war in Tajikistan officially ended with signing of the General Agreement on Peacemaking and National Consent between the government and FROM in July 1997, the ban on activity of the parties entering into opposition was removed only in August 1999. The Hizb ut-Tahrir al-Islamiyya Party, Party of Islamic Release, became the main troublemaker since the beginning of the ORD International by origin and ideologies. The activity of the organization was banned, hundreds of people on suspicion of belonging to her were exposed to arrest, dozens of functionaries are condemned on various imprisonment terms. Also certain heads of PIVT, the deputy chairman Shens Shamsuddinov, are condemned. The leader of DPTM Iskandarov is under examination. On September 29, 2015, the Supreme Court of the Republic of Tajikistan banned the activity of Party of Islamic Revival of Tajikistan in the territory of the country. Before the ban, PIVT was the only legally operating political party of Islamic sense in the former Soviet Union. Political parties: Agrarian Party of Tajikistan, Democratic Party of Tajikistan, Communist Party of Tajikistan, the People's Democratic Party of Tajikistan ruling, Party of Economic Reforms of Tajikistan, Social Democratic Party of Tajikistan, Socialist Party of Tajikistan. 93% of the territory of Tajikistan occupy mountains. Grassy and semi-shrubby vegetation prevails. Climate of the country: subtropical with considerable daily allowance and seasonal fluctuations of air temperature, low rainfall, dryness of air and small overcast. Average temperature of January fluctuates from +2 to C2 20 C in valleys, and the foothills of the southwest and north of the republic also fall below on Pamir. The absolute minimum of temperature reaches 63 C on Pamir. Bulancal. Average temperature of July from +30 C in the lower valleys of the southwest up to 0 C and below on Pamir. The absolute maximum of temperature makes +48 C. Lower Pines. The largest lakes: Karakal, Saraz Lake, Iskandarkal, Hirakam Reservoir. In the north of Tajikistan, in the Sud region, one of the world's largest fields of silver, Big Konamansar, is located. Also, Tajikistan is rich with fields of gemstones, uranium. According to some information, 16% of world reserves. Gold, coal, aluminum and polymetallic ores. Tajikistan is in the time zone designated according to the international standard as UTS+5. Time conversion for summer and winter time since 1991 isn't applied, though in Soviet period it was applied. On the same time zone there are Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Pakistan, Maldives and also a number of Russian regions. The settlements of Tajikistan are subdivided into city and rural settlements. The cities and settlements, and 2 rural villages, irrespective of their administrative subordination, belong to city settlements. The cities can be republican, regional and regional value. Now Tajikistan consists of the Gorno-Badakhshan Autonomous Region, the Sud and Hatlansky regions, 18 cities, 58 areas, including 13 areas of republican submission, 57 settlements and 370 rural jamias. Cases Sutadisko Aluminivo Company, Halco and Tersanzoda, providing up to 75% of all currency receipts in the budget of Tajikistan and about 1/3 exports of the country. According to the Index of Economic Freedom, Tajikistan, following the results of 2021, took the 134th place among 178 countries included in rating, which domestic economic policy was recognized as mainly not free. From the countries of the former USSR, below Tajikistan there was only Turkmenistan. And according to the Index of Ease of Business, Tajikistan occupied 106th place among 190 countries, with the average level of ease of business having overtaken, again, only Turkmenistan among the countries of the former Soviet Union. Tajikistan belongs to the category of the agrarian industrial countries. GDP volume on PPS for 2015 was $23.31 billion, the 139th place in the world. The rates of economic growth recorded in 2015, about 3%. The 103rd place in the world. Revenues of the state budget for 2015, $2.432 billion, account minus $2.481 billion, budget deficit minus 0.6% of VVV. According to the report of the agency statistically at the President of Tajikistan, the structure of TDD for the beginning of 2018 looks as follows. The prevailing sectors in the Republic are trade minus 21.9%, the industry minus 18.5%, transport, communication and warehouse economy minus 14.2% and taxes minus 13.5%. According to forecasts of the government, in 2018 DDD of Tajikistan will grow by 7%. According to forecasts of the international currency organizations, for 6%. Monetary unit Tajikistani Samoni. An average course for 2016 8 Samoni for $1 US. Change unit deframes, 1/100 Samoni. Currency issue is carried out by the Central Bank of the country, National Bank of Tajikistan. Rates of inflation, following the results of 2015, 5.8%. The 183rd place in the world. The volume of national gold and foreign exchange reserves for December 2015 was $430.3 million. Tajikistan, the agrarian industrial country having high hydroenergy potential, large deposits of mineral resources and high tourist potential. Long war, the related destructions and human losses led to a sharp slowdown in economy. GDP in 1995 was only 41% of an indicator of 1991. For the last peace years the economy and the standard of living considerably rose. On agriculture 18.9% of GDP, the share of the industry minus 21.9%, the service sector minus 59.2%. In 2009. Remains the main sector of economy state. The state controls the most part of the large industrial enterprises. Total amount of an external debt of Tajikistan for April 1, 2018 was $2.859 billion and $770 million on internal. A considerable part of a debt it was formed from sale of government bonds in the international markets. The external debt of Tajikistan for the first quarter of the current year was reduced by $20 million. The main part of the electric power is manufactured in Tajikistan on hydroelectric power station. The general rated capacity of hydroelectric power stations is about 4950 MW. In 2010, development made about 20 billion UH. The country has the considerable capacity of the area of hydropower, which is still a little realized. The total amount of hydroenergy resources is estimated at 527 billion UH, including technically feasible to use makes 202 billion UH, and economically expedient to construction minus 172 billion UH. It is the state by one of the most provided with this renewable power source in the world. The 8th place on the absolute potential of development. Among the CIS countries on this indicator, the country concedes only to Russia. The park of hydroelectric power station of Tajikistan is made. Baksh Cascade, Baksh River. It includes the largest hydroelectric power stations of the country. 300 MW Nareksky Hydroelectric Power Station, 600 MW Bepazinsky Hydroelectric Power Station, 670 MW Sanktidinsky Gs-1, 220 MW Sanktidinsky Gs-2, 240 MW Head Hydroelectric Power Station, 29.9 MW Parapadny Hydroelectric Power Station, 15. 1 MW Central Hydroelectric Power Station, Terakumsky Hydroelectric Power Station on the 126 MW Sirdarya River, Varzubsky Cascade from Hydroelectric Power Station of Varzub, 1, 2 and 3 on the river of Dushan Darya with a general power of 25.7 MW. Several tens of small, with power up to 1.5 MW, and micro hydroelectric power stations, with power up to 0.1 MW. The government of Tajikistan developed extensive plans for reconstruction and modernization of the existing hydropower objects, completion preserved and to construction of new hydroelectric power stations and cross-border LEP. The largest stations entering into them. The 3600 MW Mragunsky Hydroelectric Power Station. Completion of construction on the basis of purchase of shares by the population of the country, attraction of financial resources of foreign investors and the government of the Republic is supposed. The 4000 MW Dashtachumsky Hydroelectric Power Station. Construction with participation of businessmen and the governments of Tajikistan is supposed. It is supposed to expand the existing cascades of hydroelectric power station and to master the Zarafshan resources, Hyands and other rivers. At the same time, in power supply of the country, the deficiency of energy is felt in recent years. The electrical power system of Tajikistan is in crisis state. The energy crisis in Tajikistan during the winter period is said about it in a research of the World Bank. Alternative options of ensuring balance of supply and demand. It is noted that about 70% of the population of Tajikistan suffer from universal power shortage in wintertime. The specified power shortage estimated at the level of about 2700 gigawatt-hours. VHW that is, about a quarter of the general need for the electric power, leads to economic losses which, according to calculations, annually are more than $200 million, it is noted in a research. The shortage level of the electric power considerably increased in 2009 when interaction of Tajikistan with neighboring countries within commercial electrical supplies through the power system of Central Asia. PESCA stopped. The specified power shortage in many respects resulted from an exit of Uzbekistan from the power system of Central Asia. PESCA and the unilateral ban on import of the electric power of Turkmenistan on power lines of Uzbekistan to Tajikistan. From the point of view of dominating the industries, the industry of Tajikistan is subdivided on light industry, the most developed industry of an industrial complex of the capital. Such situation is explained first of all by the fact that the main raw material resources, cotton, silk, cocoons, wool and others, are made in the Republic. Includes the enterprises and Elspo Nasashai Tajik, the largest textile company of Tajikistan with a full cycle of processing of cotton to ready garments incorporating 3 spinning and weavers productions, finishing production and several sewing productions. With a productive power of processing of 25,000 tons of cotton fiber a year. And Elstverment of Ruka Abersham. Joint Vietnam, the Tajik enterprise for processing of raw silk and production of finished silk products. Osk Nafisa, enterprise for production of a hosiery. Kist Gulistan, enterprise for production of garments. The electrotechnical industry and mechanical engineering include the largest enterprises of the Republic, such as Tajikistan, Osk Tadzakabel, Osk Pamir, Oskelto. Production of the electronic equipment, household goods. Osk Torgmash, the enterprise for production of the equipment for trade enterprises. Food and processing industry makes all types of food products, including wine-producing products. The largest enterprises of the industry are oil and fat, also dairy plants, canneries, wine and beer factories, and also the enterprises making bakery and confectionery products. The industry of construction materials includes brickworks, the slate plant and also other enterprises producing building materials and reinforced concrete structures and products. The metallurgy includes the Tajik Aluminum Company, Halco. In the city of Tursunzoda, one of the largest enterprises of the Republic for production of non-ferrous metals, the reinforcing plant, iron casting, water gazo, and pipeline fittings and others. In 2011 in the city of Dushan, the small joint Tajik-Canadian enterprise on production of accumulators opened. In December 2014 in the Dangarinsky region of Catalan region, construction of the largest in Central Asia of the textile enterprise, which first stage can process over 52,000 tons of cotton fiber, began. The enterprise is under construction according to the joint investment project of Tajikistan and IKE. It is planned to put the enterprise in operation in 2018. Cotton was the major culture which has grown up in Tajikistan during the Soviet period, but for years of independence his production fell. In 2014 in the Republic 417.9 thousand tons of cotton were collected. For 2014 agricultural production was 1,232.6 thousand tons of grain and leguminous, 1,342.4 thousand tons of vegetables, 465,000 tons of melon, 313.2 thousand tons of fruits and berries, 167.1 thousand tons of grapes, 990.2 thousand tons of potatoes. In the Republic, the livestock production is developed in 2014. 778.3 thousand tons of milk and 291.6 million pieces were produced by 81,000 tons of meat of cattle in live weight. Eggs. In the 1990s, the Republic livestock production strongly suffered from war, but in the odd years was restored and, on some indicators, number of cattle, sheep and goats, production of wool and milk exceeded the level of 1991. Poultry farming in the 1990s fell into decay. Annual production of eggs in the Republic from 1990 to 2000 was reduced from 592 million pieces up to 24 million pieces. In the odd years, the industry was partially restored, and for 2012 292 million pieces were manufactured in Tajikistan. Eggs. About a half of production of 1990. All values are given in US dollars. Export minus 0.939 billion, import minus 3.04 billion. In 2017. Main export goods. Aluminum, 166 million. Gold, 156 million. Zinc ore, 143 million. Lead ore, 112 million. Cotton raw, 63.2 million. And also fruit, vegetables and textile goods. Main countries of export. Kazakhstan minus 32%, Turkey minus 21%, Switzerland minus 17%, Algeria minus 8.8%. A share of Russia minus 2.6%. Main import goods. Oil products, 188 million. Wheat, 166 million. Natural gas, 109 million. Also considerably are imported into the country machines and the equipment, clothes, footwear and final chemical goods. Main countries of import. China minus 43%, Russia minus 23%, Kazakhstan minus 15%, Turkey minus 5.1%. The trade turnover with India is insignificant, minus 32.56 million in 2009/2010. Though the most part of the population of Tajikistan is engaged in the agrarian sector, the Republic is forced to import a considerable part of the consumed agricultural products. In 2012, 829.1 thousand tons of wheat and flour. In terms of flour, at the same time own production was only 619.9 thousand tons. 32.6 thousand tons of meat. Own production minus 161. 9,000 tons. 116,000 tons of sugar were imported into Tajikistan. According to the World Bank, for 2021 at least 26.5% of the population of Tajikistan live below the poverty line. According to other data, these figures underestimated and in reality live in extreme poverty. Not less than 62% of the population of Tajikistan. It is nearly the highest rate among the countries of the former CCC. Regions of the country were the highest level of poverty of the population. Catalan region were, according to official figures, at least 32.8%. In reality, not less than 70%. Citizens live below the poverty line and also pay. Officially 29.7% of the poor. And RRP. According to 32.5%. Other safe regions of the country are the city of Dushanbe. Official percent of poor 18.5%. And partially sub-region. Officially 15.4%. The greatest poverty is observed in rural areas and in the small cities. Meanwhile, the level of poverty of the population was reduced by until recently slow rates. In 2012, officially the segment of the population with low income made 37.4%, then to 2020 it was reduced to 27.5%. The subsequent pandemic of COVID-19 strengthened growth only of the begun slow reduction of poverty in the country again, and the same World Bank predicted decrease already in slow rates of reduction of poverty. According to the agency, according to Tajikistan, the average monthly nominal charged wage for the end of 2019 was 1.357 samoni or $140. In reality, the average salary at most of residents of the country at the level of $70, $110, though some qualified specialists receive $160, $350. The lowest wage was $61. In Tajikistan there is no scale of a living wage. The average amount of monthly pension was 308 samoni, or about $30. In practice, the amount of pension at most of pensioners doesn't exceed $25, $27, though the rare pensioners receiving much more meet. On the middle of 2020 in the country, pension was received by over 722,000 people, or only 8% of the population of the country. In Tajikistan, the most rapid growth of number of title nationality among all countries of the former USSR is observed. The share of Tajiks in 1959 made 53.1% of the population of Tajikistan, and in 1989, already 62.3%. In 2002 it increased up to 79.9%, in 2010 up to 84.3%. According to a population census of 2010, the population of Tajikistan was card people for October 1, 2015, 8,486,300 people. The number of men is card and women minus card. According to these data, 984 women are the share of 1,000 men in art. According to the agency, statistically at the President of Tajikistan for January 1, 2018, the population of the Republic made 8,931,200 people. The population of Tajikistan grows in high gear long ago. In 1959 there were people, in 1989 109,000 here, and unlike the European CIS countries, continued to grow in 1989-1999 despite considerable migration outflow of the population from the Republic. 437,000 people in 11 years. A major factor of growth of the population, high natural increase. Data for January 1, 2006 in tab. 1. Constant the population by estimates of the State Committee of Statistics of Tajikistan. Urban population 1,483.6 is younger than working age. Men 772/women 711. 134.3 is more senior than working age. Men 44.7/women 89. Country people 2338.6 is younger than working age. Men 1213.9/women 1124. 353.5 is more senior than working age. Men 128.5/women 225. During 1989-2000, not only the urban population of Tajikistan in general, but also the population of the large cities of the country, including the capital, Dushan, as a result of migration outflow of the Russian-speaking, and then Tajik Uzbek population was reduced. From the moment of the collapse of the USSR, the national structure of the population of the country considerably changed. According to a census, the share of Russians in the population was much lower than expected. In 1989, 388.5 thousand Russians lived in the Republic. According to the state account for 1996, taking into account migrations and natural losses, the number of Russians was estimated at 189.5 thousand, but the census of 2000 found only 68.2 thousand. Thus, a part of migrations and death, especially during armed conflicts, wasn't considered by official statistics. A share of Uzbeks in the population, less than 17%. The share of Kyrgyz remained the same, a little more than 1%. At the same time, during the inter-census period, the number and a share of Tajiks considerably increased. In the 1989 there were 3,172.4 thousand, 62.3%. In 2000, already 4,898.4 thousand, 79.9%. In 2010 up to 84.3%. According to official statistical data, annually the population of Tajikistan grows for 2.2%, or on 200,000 people. On May 26, 2018, the 9 million female resident of the country was born in Dushan. In Russia, several public and human rights organizations of natives of Tajikistan work. In 2003, the international public organization, National League Tajiki, is founded. In November 2007 in Russia there took place the I Congress of the People of Tajikistan. According to the Russian program of resettlement of compatriots from Tajikistan in 2016, about 7,000 citizens of Tajikistan moved to various regions of Russia. Tajikistan is the secular state. The vast majority of the population of the country practices Islam of Hanafi's descent of the Sunni direction. The Ismailism, one of specific currents of Shiite Islam, is most of all widespread in east part of the country, in the Gorno-Badakhshan Autonomous Region. Where the Pamir people make the main part of the population. There isn't a lot of followers of traditional Shia Islam in Tajikistan. Generally it is small diaspora of the Central Asian Iranians of Tajikistan. Is she part of the Central Asian Iranians lives in Uzbekistan. And also small immigrants from Iran and Afghanistan. Officially, in the country there is no mosque or madrasa of traditional Shia Islam. Tajikistan is one of those countries where still there is quite significant amount of followers of Zoroastrianism. Practically all Zoroastrians of Tajikistan are representatives of the Pamir people who live in Bay. Also Zoroastrians are extremely insignificant share of the ethnic Tajiks and Yagnabets living mainly in the east of the country. In Bay there are several dozens of Zoroastrian temples. In Tajikistan 85 non-Muslim religious associations are registered. Among them the main part is made by Christians. Also in the country 4 communities of Bakhaist, 1 Zoroastrians, and 1 the Judaic community are registered. In Tajikistan it was registered and the only political religious party in Central Asia, Party of Islamic Revival of Tajikistan, worked. Most of Christians in the country, Orthodox Christians. In the territory of Tajikistan not less than 6 arrivals of the Dushan Diocese of Russian Orthodox Church work. Protestants, 10,000, are presented by Pentecostals, 4. 7,000 including the Korean movement Sunmin Sunbagim. Presbyterians from a mission of Sunmin Grace, 1.5 thousand. Adventists Baptists, the Union of Evangelical Baptist Christians of Tajikistan, Lutherans and others. The state and official language of the Republic of Tajikistan is the Tajik, which is considered by some linguists a Persian ethnolect. Tajik has a so-called problem language or a dialect. Officially recognized and the most extended for Tajik writing in Tajikistan is the Tajik Cyrillics, accepted in 1940 and improved in 1952 and 1998. In the country there are a lot of supporters of return for writing of Tajik of the era Persian writing, and even supporters of return of the primordial name of language, Farsi or Persian. Russian according to the Constitution of the Republic is officially recognized as language of international communication. Office work on it is practically not conducted. From the Soviet period the country inherited the whole network of educational institutions. For years of independence the number of both higher education institutions and students sharply increased. However, the quality of the higher education remains low, that is connected with derivation of a considerable part of students from occupations for any works. The researcher Z. by to even note such forms of removal of students of higher education institutions of Tajikistan from occupations for the beginning of the 2010 years. Rehearsals of actions by public holidays and memorials. In some academic groups will mobilize up to 50% of structure which for 4 months all day long on special squares rehearses, at the same time 2 teachers orally specified not to note to these students admissions of occupations, and estimates and offsets just exposed. The direction in some higher education institutions of students on 1-2 month for public works. Cleaning of streets, gardening. According to the estimates of Department of the Population of Department of Economic and Social Problems of the Union, in Tajikistan about
Persons of more senior 15 years can read and write in any language. That makes 99.77% of the total number of adult population. Respectively, about people still remain illiterate. The science in the territory of Tajikistan already in the Middle Ages made great progress, but the current scientific organizations were created during the Soviet period. During independence, the scientific sphere endured a serious crisis. The annual number of patent applications for inventions was reduced in 1994-2011 from 193 to 5. The significant contribution to science is made by higher education institutions, where in 2011 6707 research associates from whom they had 2450 academic degrees worked. One of minor planets of the solar system is called for a contribution of the Tajik scientists to development of world astrophysics in honor of Tajikistan. Culture and public relationship in Tajikistan have centuries-old history. The art culture of the Tajik people since ancient times was created and developed in the territory of Central Asia and modern Afghanistan, and developed in the cities of Bukhara, Samarkand, Merv, Herat, Nishapur, Bak, Kuja and Istaravshan, Holbek and other cities of Central Asia. She is closely connected with the culture of other people, especially Iranians. In the territory of modern Tajikistan, cultural monuments which were included into the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List remained. Peculiar developed science and education which for last millennia incorporated Aryan, Hellenic, Persian, Islamic, Turek, Mongolian and European cultures. In the second half of the 19th-20th centuries, after conquest of Central Asia from Russia and the subsequent cohabitation of the Tajik people with the people of the former Usur, penetration of the European culture and its transformation into cultural life of the Tajik society begins. In public and cultural life of traditional medieval society there were basic changes, including material, spiritual and art culture. Gradually within the 20th century, traditional tenor of life and cultural requirements of the Tajik society changed. The European clothes, life, some traditions, consumption of achievements of global community, including in the field of culture, became daily cultural shape of inhabitants. After acquisition of the state independence, the Republic of Tajikistan, 1991. Revived some national holidays, forbidden in Soviet period, Nowruz, Ramazan, Kurban and others. Names of the cities and settlements were restored, the national status of Tajik in the public and educational institutions, etc. is revived. In 1991-2011 the number of the museums, including branches, increased from 27 to 44, but the annual number of their visits was reduced from 450,000 people to 252,000. The truth, when accounting the number of visits, exists considerable confusion. Maintaining national cultural traditions and originality, use of achievements of global culture in society is the main criterion of modern Tajikistan. In the country, especially among women from indigenous people, wearing traditional national clothes remains. Seamstresses and embroideresses of various regions of Tajikistan use modern factory fabrics and local amateur embroideries for decoration of the house and a women's clothing. Men generally wear factory clothes of the European style. Some men wear the top national clothes, jam, and headdresses, skullcaps, conceal. The Persian Tajik literature, the poetry, prose, the manuscript, a miniature, developed throughout several centuries. The brightest period of development of the Tajik literature falls on medieval times when in Central Asia the first Muslim Tajik state, the Emirate of Samanadav, 874–1005 years, appeared. At this particular time also formation of the Tajik nation began. Samanida gave huge influence to science and poetry. Such outstanding poets and scientists of the time as Rudaki, Abwali ibn Sina, Avicenna, Firdusi and Suri, Dakiki worked at court Samanadav. Persians and Tajiks then were the uniform people with the general roots, therefore also literature, art, science were general property too. This ideological base was uniform for a number of territories and the people, as caused community of cultural development in general. At the end of the 10th century, Firdusi creates the world-famous heroic epic, Shahnameh, surpassing all works existing nowadays in the volume and content. The 11th century was marked by creation of such genre as the romantic epos. There is a number of the poems written to Ansuri, Ayuki, Gunguri, Omar Khayyam in this style, but a wreath of completeness and beauty became Hamsa. Paitaritsa. Bottoms, created by him in the 12th century. In the 13th century, Bustan and Sadi's Gulistan. In the 14th century, works by successors of traditions of the Romanesque epos, Amir of Khosrow Dehlavi and Tukermani, Kamal Hoods Handi and master of a ghazal Hafiz Shirazi's Hajarborn. The 15th century, Dayami's poetry, which captured all genres of the previous literature on plans and stylistics, that kind of summed up it. The Persian Tajik literature developed in the extensive territory, extending on her thanks to wanderings of poets, scientists, travelers, merchants and transfers of the illustrated miniatures. Origin of the Tajik Soviet literature, which overcame influence of the nationalist ideas of a panturkism, is connected with names of poets Abulkasim Alakuti, 1887–1957, Sadruddin Aini, 1878–1954, and Peyravaz Suleimani, 1890–1933. The October Revolution opened a new page in the history of the Tajik literature. History of this literature opens the poem Freedom March, 1918. Written by Sadruddin Aini, the founder of the Tajik Soviet literature. The first post-revolutionary years literature included generation of writers whose works were connected with the social transformations which are carried out in the late 20s. Peyravaz Suleimani, 1899–1933. Muhammadin Rakimi, 1901–1968. Jalal Kavs, 1909–1993. Sukheli Devavkarizade, 1900–1964. Makidin Amin Bak, 1904–1966. The noticeable place is taken in poetry of the 1920th years by the revolutionary poet of Iran Abulkasim Alakuti, 1887–1957. Who was emigrating in 1922 in the USSR and became one of initiators of the Tajik Soviet poetry. Any one of the first hosted revolution, having laid the foundation for a realistic Soviet prose in Tajik. The 1930th became years of reorganization of all life of the Republic. In the early 30s the Tajik literature was replenished with Mirza Tursunzade, 1911–1977. Abu Salam Dakoti,
1911-1962. Rakim Jalil, 1909-1989. Hakim Karim, 1905-1942. Mirsaid Mirshakar, 1912-1993. Names Satima Ulugzoda, 1911-1997. Mumin Kanat, 1932-2018. And others. The Tajik writers created images of new people, builders of socialist society. In literature, the method of socialist realism was approved. For years of the Soviet power in the Tajik literature, there was a number of new names: poets Abdusalam Dakoti, Mirzo Tursunzoda, Muhammadson Rakimi, Makidin Amin Zaid, Sukaili Davarizad, Habib Yusufi, Mirsaid Mirshakar, Lutfi Shan Zaid, Tilo Puladi M. Diori, Mumin Kanuk, Boza Sober, Loic Charlie and others. Prose writers Rakim Jalil, Jalil Akrami, Hakim Karim Bak, Fringes Farah, Daudads and Radzabi and other. The feature of the Soviet Tajik literature was that subjects about transformations in society, historical milestones of life of the Tajik people after the October Revolution were solved in the style reminding national legends or panegyrical poetry, traditional for the East. Poetic collections of verses and especially the poem remained the prevailing genre. Having included the Soviet subject in a set of subjects for poetic improvisations in the Persian style, the Tajik writers kept national poetic tradition. During the Soviet period, writers of Tajikistan Sadruddin Aini, 1950. Mirzo Tursunzaid, 1948. And Mumin Kanut, 1977. Were winners of the State Award of the USSR in the field of literature. After disintegration of the Soviet Union in the early 90s in Tajikistan, there is a number of the transformations connected with the establishment of independence, which are followed by collisions of opposing groups within the country. Further development of literary processes in Tajikistan at the crossroads. There is a revival of national literature of times of the pre-Soviet period in the form of publications earlier forbidden Soviet censorship of literary works. In 1929 in the Republic there was the first theatre. The Tajik state drama. And the first newsreel, the Soviet Tajikistan, was removed. In 1931 the first Tajik feature film, When Emirs Die, was shot, and in 1936, shootings of the sound movie, Dushan, Stalinabad, are complete. In 1937 the Russian drama theatre were played, generally actors with professional education. Unlike Tajik where first participants of amateur performance were actors. Was open. The 1930th years became blossoming of theatre of the Republic. The children's musical and ballet school, the Tajik musical theatre were open. In 1941 in Moscow there passed decade of the Tajik art. In the territory of Tajikistan, cultural monuments of the most ancient Central Asian settled East Iranian population and nomad tribes remained. His location on the tradeways between the East and the West, cultural economic relations with Iran, India, East Turkestan, China, the countries of the Mediterranean and also tribes and the people of the Eurasian steppes was of great importance for development of art of Tajikistan. The ancient population of Tajikistan made a big contribution to art of ancient Bactria, Saud, the Kashansky kingdom, Tokaristan and Fergana. The art culture of the Tajik people since ancient times was created and developed in the cities of Bukhara, Samarkand, Bak, Kuj and Istaravshan, Holbek and other cities of Central Asia. She is closely connected with the culture of other people, especially with the culture of Uzbekistan. Therefore, many monuments of ancient and medieval art are their general cultural and art heritage. For 2012 in the Republic 168. 6,000 disabled people, including 23.7 thousand children officially stayed on the registry. In the 1,990s in the country, the number of patients with malaria and typhoid sharply increased. That was probably connected with civil war. For example, the incidence of a typhoid in the Republic grew in 1995-1997 from 26.6 cases by 100,000 population up to 513. 9 cases on 100,000 population. However, thanks to the taken measures, typhoid epidemic since 1998 declined. In 2000 in the country only 63.2 cases on 100,000 inhabitants, and in 2009, only 12.3 cases on 100,000 population were registered. In Tajikistan for the end of 2020 about 13,000 inhabitants had HIV/AIDS. These are only 0.14% of all population of the country. Experts note that this number probably is higher a little, but all the same doesn't exceed 20,000. In the Republic, as of 2013, there were 64 sports constructions, including 164 stadiums on 1,500 places and more than 1,893 gyms, 64 swimming pools. The number of regular sports workers in 2013 was 8698 people and were engaged in sections and groups on sports, clubs and groups of sports and improving orientation of 683,799 people. In Tajikistan there are 3 stadiums on 25000 viewers, 1 is under construction on 25000, 4 on 20000 and 15000. In the north of Dushan 6 sports palaces, 1 of which for hockey and other winter sports, 1 for tennis, 1 for water sports which meet all requirements of the IAC are under construction. Tajikistan Sports Palace, Aviator Stadium, Spitaman Stadium, former Stadium Spartak. The Central Republican Stadium is house for football club Istiklal. Palace of Tennis, Kasri Tennis, Dushan Swimming Pool, Sports Palace of Tax Committee, Sports Palace of Committee of Communication. In view of lack of financing up to standard from the authorities of 35000 titled athletes have no opportunity to leave on world competitions. Often athletes leave at own expense and receive sports titles. For today the Federation of Taekwondo totals 36 world champions, many of which are repeated, first of all thanks to the president of Federation M. Yakio of, the owner of a black belt. It is given to city administration and private sponsors. There are also titled athletes and in other sports, both among men and among women. At the Summer Olympic Games of 2012 the only bronze medal for athletes of Tajikistan was won by Mavzuna Koreeva. Women's boxing.
In December 2013, the Tajik athlete Adkam Misakov became the owner of the highest award of the 7th Championship of Asia on Judo among young men up to 17 years, which took place in Hainan.
In September 2014, the Tajik athletes at the Summer Asian Games won 5 medals, from them 1 gold Dilshad Nazarev in hammer throw, 1 silver Zelimkhan Yusupov in fight. The thrower of Hammer Nazarev is the most titled athlete of Tajikistan, the participant of 3 Olympic Games, twice the winner of Asian Games. In August 2015, he won a silver medal in the Track and Field Athletics World Cup in Beijing, China.
Thanks to its successful season, Nazarov became the first from among the Tajik athletes who got a gold medal at the Olympic Games 2016, which took place in Rio de Janeiro,
Brazil. The sphere of media in Tajikistan is supervised by the Communication Service at the Government of the Republic of Tajikistan, which watches information space in the country, sometimes blocking certain resources, the websites or editions.
The television appeared in the territory of Tajikistan on October 3, 1959, when began to broadcast Stalinabadsky television, which was renamed into the Tajik television later.
In Soviet period, 4 TV channels were available to residents of the Tajik Sur. The first program, Moscow. The fourth program, Moscow. Tajik television, Dushanbe. And Uzbek television, Tashkent.
TV channels and radio stations of the country are controlled in a varying degree by the State Committee on Television and Broadcasting of the Republic of Tajikistan.
As of November 2018, in Tajikistan, 34 TV companies minus 8 Republican, 2 capital and 24 regional functioned. From them 20 are independent, the others 14 state.
All private TV channels of the country broadcast at the regional level, and at the national level across the territory of the whole country broadcast only 8 public TV channels.
Tajikistan, Dovd, Jakanamo, Safins, TZ, TV, Bakaristan TV, Tavi, Sinamo, Varzish TV and TV Soccer.
All these TV channels aren't united in the general state broadcasting company and function independently of each other.
In houses at about 48% of residents of Tajikistan, satellite antennas viaduct which Tajikistanets watch foreign TV channels, generally TV channels of Russia, Uzbekistan. Generally Uzbek population of the country and also the Tajiks knowing Uzbek are installed to Kyrgyzstan, Iran and Afghanistan. Tajiks, Iranians and Afghans understand each other language. In the country there is also cable television. Tajikistan in 2020 plans full transition to digital television. Radio appeared in the territory of Tajikistan in 1932. Now over the country broadcast several independent and state radio stations in the Tajik, Russian, Uzbek and Kyrgyz languages. The international radio station, Ovozi Tojik, of Tajikistan. The Tajik's Voice. In several languages broadcasts. In border regions of the country, radio stations of Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan and Afghanistan are accepted. In Tajikistan there are 4 central government Republican newspapers. Cumhuriyet, Republic, and Sadoi Mardam. Voice of the People. In Tajik, the national newspaper, in Russian and Chalas. Ovas. Voice of the People. In Uzbek. Also in the country there are tens of private and state newspapers and magazines of various subject. Also in the country a number of independent, state and foreign news agencies and the websites is registered. Tajikistan has the national domain of the top level. T. The largest state news agency of the country is Nayib Hover. The largest independent news agencies and the news websites of Tajikistan are Asia Plus, Avesta, Ozodagan, Tij News. In the country the foreign Tadzikoysikny news websites, for example, the Tajik service of radio, Svoboda, are also popular. The decision of the Supreme Court of Tajikistan blocked about 40 websites and pages in social networks of the organizations banned in the republic. The websites, the resources forbidden in Tajikistan, Hizbut-Tahrir. It is forbidden also in the Russian Federation, where among a fundamentalist current of Salafia and other organizations and their preachers. Islamic fundamentalists. Web resources of Party of Islamic Revival. PIVT. Group 24 and also the forum recognized in the Republic Terrorist and Extremist Liberal and the National Alliance of Tajikistan. NAT. The organizations which united the Tajik opposition abroad were included in the blacklist. Both their Facebook pages and channels on the YouTube video portal are announced forbidden. Tajikistan is known as one of the centers mountain, ecological and other types of tourism in Central Asia. The only remain historical city monuments of Tajikistan also concede to the neighboring republics. Tourists can get acquainted with sites of the cities located on the ancient caravan trade road, Panjakan, Hodhend, Istaravshan, Gisser, Dushan, Khulab, Korag, Kurgantepe. In these places at the beginning of the Middle Ages the caravan Great Silk Track known in the history which connected the countries of the East and Western Europe lay. Near Panjakan the ancient settlement Sarazm which age is equal to 4,000 years is found. The Buddhist monastery at Zinatepe where the 13-meter statue of Buddha was found, was near Kurgantepe. Pamir abounds with various historical monuments, the parking having rock paintings of the Stone Age, the city the market Dara. Fortresses Yamshan, Kak, which confirm ancient civilizations and the historical past of Edge. The Tajik National Park is the center ecological and other types of tourism in Tajikistan today. Tourists come to the park to enjoy the primitive nature where rare and valuable species of animals, birds, other animals or plants, reservoirs and sources and other natural wealth of the mountain country still remained. In the territory of the park, in mountains Pamir there are several mountain seven chili arches Ismail Samoni Peak. The former communism peak -7495 m. Lenin Peak. Abwali Ibn Sina's Peak. 7134 m. Korzanovskaya's Peak. 7105 m. And others, Fedchenko's Glacier. The area about 700 km, which are objects of mountaineering and mountaineering. The Tajik National Park is protected by the Ministry of Conservation of the Republic of Tajikistan. MAPART.
In Tajikistan and in Bay there are many mineral and medical sources, among which known in the Ishkashim district there is a unique hot spring of Garm Chasham which cures of many diseases. The UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List in Tajikistan included such reserved natural zones as the mountain lakes Orkal on Pamir, the Fan Mountains, with unique mountain lakes, Iskanakal, Tigravaya Balka, and Dashti Jumski reserves in the south of Tajikistan. All this characterizes Tajikistan as the country of mountain and ecological tourism. According to media reports, Tajikistan appeared on the 55th place in the rating of incapacity of the states of Fragile States Index -2014 made by the Research Center, Fund of the World and the American magazine, Foreign Policy. The indicator of Tajikistan was 84.6. Originators refer the state with such rating to category of the countries where the ability of the authorities to control a situation raises very serious doubts. In 2017, experts of the World Economic Forum (WEF) called Tajikistan the safest country of Central Asia. In the rating from 136 positions, countries published on WEF website, Tajikistan took the 49th place. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.